Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
We are very, very pleased to have this man on the radio with us again. Good morning to you, Ian Cover.
Good morning, Neil. Good day, Robert. How are you?
Going well, thank you. Great to have you aboard. Thank you for doing this at short notice, but you wonderful Coodabins who are doing some fantastic work have got into what is now a common thing for someone who has a little bit of media profile. Let's write a book. And the Coodabins book's going crazy. How did that all come about?
Oh, well, because it was going to be it is our 40th year on the radio this year. I think a couple of years ago we started talking about, if we make it to 40, what will we do? And one suggestion was to write a book covering the 40 years, telling the story. And as it turned out, it's taken a couple of years, we got there. I'd like to thank the AFL for extending the season into October. The book only came out on Thursday, and if the footy season had finished last week, we would have missed the footy action. So thank you to the AFL. It's been a very busy week because it was, well, mind you, one of the things is preparing for the book launch, but of course there wasn't a book launch.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Now you guys continue to do some amazingly good stuff, and we mentioned it before, but now that there's been some momentum and more time in the studio, the re-emergence of Simon Whelan has really made the show not necessarily more listenable, but it's added something that we got to love and it disappeared. He's just got an amazing rapport with the rest of you. You must be personally thrilled to have him back in the team because clearly you're pretty good mates.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's given us all a lift. It's a bit like little Gary coming back from the Gold Coast.
Yes.
But he's got less hair, Gary.
Well, no. Simon's about the same as little Gary these days.
Oh, okay. It's a long time since I've seen him. Am I right in saying this is not the first printed publication by the Coodabeen Champions, though?
No, it's definitely not.
There were some, I'll loosely describe the previous versions as activity books. Would that be more inclined to be accurate?
Yes, we did a footy book in 1990, which means we are taking it 30 years at a time.
Yes, actually,
full credit to the boys, by the way.
The first time I met Ian Cover, he wouldn't remember, but it was at a function, and my late nephew Jared Vag, who sadly passed away with muscular dystrophy, had that aforementioned book in his possession. And when my sister handed over all his footy stuff, I took it along to a function that I knew you were appearing, and you have signed it for me. And yeah, activity book would be a very good description, but it was certainly a bit of fun at the time.
Well, that book had a lot of mainly just contributions from listeners, and this one is more an account of us talking about our 40 years. And fortunately, I kept a lot of old cuttings and photos and things. Mind you, they were in somewhere in a container, in a plastic containers in a big shipping container, and then others are in a storage place in Altona. So, and Greg Champion's got a garage full of stuff, and we managed to get it all together and got as much as we can into the book. So it even includes a picture on page 1 of myself, mate, and Eddie Maguire at the Swagman restaurant in 1987.
Apparently, the smorgasbord was something to be held at the Swagman.
They had a smorgasbord that they were famous for.
That's what I thought. And some dancing girls too. I used to live in the eastern suburbs myself, and that was known as the Ferntree Gully Chew Till You Spew.
I think it was in the ad. It was "It's a lively place."
And a nightly show.
And a nightly show. And a
smorgasbord that we're famous for. It's Melbourne's own. They say it's the best. Bring the family. Come and be our guest.
That's fantastic.
Oh, dear.
Anytime you need ads, mate, I'm your man.
I might just point out, it burnt down shortly after we were there.
Yeah, hashtag allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
Now, Cove, you guys famously had a tilt at commercial radio 3OW when you took the Coodabeen's flag over there, and you came back to old Auntie ABC, which is great, but there was a little fat fella that didn't come back. Haven't seen part of him. Is there any likelihood that he'll be part of the 40-year celebrations? Will he appear in the book, or is he gone forever?
No, he's in the book. We had a long chat with Tony, which appears in the book where he talks about how he got involved and what his involvement was, and then he also talks about the talkback segment, because it was Tony's talkback initially.
It was.
If you look, I'll get a book to you, chaps. You'll have to share it.
No, that's all right.
It's all right. Rob can't read.
It'll be like when Don Lane and Bert, when Don won the gold, Logie and Bert said 6 months at your place and 6
That's
months.
it. Yeah.
Now, Cove, I've
Hey,
got...
on Tony, though, if you read the bit about Tony, it gets to the end of Tony's bit, and he actually says, you know, how he's been at AW, calling the footy, blah, blah, blah. And, he's, you know, who knows, at the end of the year, I might come knocking. Which I said, well, Tony, you know, in the best traditions of show business, the door is always...
One of my favourite could have been memories actually is Tony Leonard doing the talkback, as you mentioned earlier, and when some of the more controversial listeners rang in, and Tony trying to control laughter during those interviews was a noise to behold, as you could tell that every orifice his body was squeezed tightly, but things were trying to get out. It was quite funny sounds he made.
Look, I got the impression from listening to the talkback segment that the people were calling him were doing their best to make Tony laugh. or to make him squirm.
Yeah.
And the primary difference between your show and ours is you guys are successful in making people laugh. We're still doing our finest work and still not getting anyone to smile.
It was great stuff.
If your memory's long enough, you might recall Helen from Healesville, who used to ring Tony.
Yes.
And she'd always say, "Hello, Tony. What are you doing after the show?" Kind of go.
It was fair to suggest that Helen wasn't just a fan of the Could Have Beens. She had a particular liking for Tony.
And she'd say, "Tony, why don't you come right after the show?" And Tony'd go, "Oh, all right." No. And then she'd say, "Tony, I'll put this spar on."
There's a visual I'm worried about.
Oh dear.
Tony'd be just going, "Oh, no. Remember last Saturday night you ring the spar?" And he's going, "Look, I've never met you in
Now, Cove, on matters more serious, you've been round many, many times. You've seen the highs and lows of it. Thursday night, I go to bed very, very sad. Give me some spirit. Let me know why I've still got some life left in this final series as a Cats supporter.
Oh, well, because they're still in it.
Apparently you've got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, you've got an expert up there in the hub in Josh Barnes.
We have.
Again, allegedly.
Yeah, gee, I'll tell you what, I see you gave Gary Ablett 2 out of 10. Well, that's it. Gary will never talk to Josh again.
Yeah, I did say that it's fraught with danger doing those player ratings, and that is one he might need to do some explaining when he gets back home.
Look, I watched Brisbane last night, and it's funny how when you get to the finals, some of your thoughts get crystallised. One of the strengths of football teams in the last 20 years has probably been having a gaggle of players who can play in the midfield. And Geelong's premiership sides were marked by about having about 8 blokes that could go through the midfield. I looked at Brisbane last night. They've assembled a really good gaggle of midfielders that get the footy and go forward with it all the time.
Yeah, they were good. They out Richmond, which I didn't expect they could.
And the Geelong side on Thursday night, and for most of the year, the last couple of years really, but certainly Thursday night, it had 8 players who are first picked offenders. So you go through them,
yeah,
and you know, such that Tui's playing on a wing, and you know O'Connor was named up forward. There's about 8 blokes that are their first go is playing in defence. I reckon we need 8 that can play in the middle, because when it got down to the end, there was a centre bounce that had Duncan, Dalhouse, and Atkins in there. Well,
yep.
that's not Dave D.
Those Rich and Beaky and Mitch.
No, it's quite interesting that Lockie Henderson came in late, and he was the one that was probably first to go when they decided to go back to a normal cluster of 7 defenders. But he's been going that well, and Harry Taylor's probably the one that looks the shakiest. But you'd have to suggest that he probably did a fairly good job the other night as well. So I concur with the issue, Cove. It's been brought up in our little social circle often.
And it's horses for courses depending on who they play next week. Because if you're playing Collingwood, and Collingwood play quick small forwards like McGoey and Stevenson, there's another bloke down there that's pretty good for him in the forward line.
Thomas.
Thomas, correct. Yeah. Well, I don't think you can play Harry on those days.
No, you can't.
So,
But you swing him up forward and give the man who doesn't know what the big sticks are for some support.
No, you manage him.
I'll manage, yeah.
well, there was nothing like that tried on Thursday night, like just throwing someone forward, or even little Gary. He would have got more. He had more chance to get more than 2 out of 10 from Josh Barnes if he'd gone into a couple of centre bounces. I mean, he might be 36, but he knows how to get the football, Bobby.
He does indeed, Cove. Cove, thank you very much. Good luck with your show, which kicks off when we finish. We'll let our listeners know that, and we'll be no doubt tuning in then. Enjoy the time. Good luck with the book, and congratulations again on a 40-year burst of longevity that has stunned many, and probably no more so than the lot of you that are in there every Saturday morning.
And one thing in signing off would be to say that, and we do write a fair bit about this in the book, that we wouldn't be where we are if we hadn't started on community radio.
Yep.
At Triple R, and that's the great thing about the Pulse too. It's community radio, and you both can look ahead to where you might be in. How long have you been doing this?
Oh, what time is it now?
It's 32 weeks, I think this is, Cove. We've started off, but yeah, both of us collectively have been doing community radio for 6 or 8 years, I suppose. So Neil a bit longer.
13, but that's okay.
But yeah, it's a good thing. We appreciate it.
Oh, when you blokes decide to give up the time slot, you'll put in a good word.
Well, if you've been doing that for 6 or 8 years, think where you might be in 32 or
Yeah, that's right.
Robbie's 84.
Hopefully, in better times, I know you're a lover of the local cricket scene, Cove. In better times, we may even be able to get you into the studio over the summer to rip into all the good things that are happening at the Geelong Cricket Club. We have their coach, Nick Speak, on after 10 o'clock. Looking forward to good stuff from there this year.
I had a nice cup of tea yesterday with David Kelly.
What a great man he is. We should get him back. He's done a couple of stints in here with us.
Yeah, and Michael King, both former presidents of the Geelong Cricket Club.
Good people.
Yeah, great community people. Exactly right. Yeah.
Thanks, Cove. All the very best. Appreciate your time at short notice, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I agree. I hate Chubby Checker at number 1.
Thanks, mate. All
Cheers,
the best.
mate.
See ya, bye-bye.